Hello and welcome to Hello World Tutorial Part 2, Inspecting Interactions. Today we're going to go over the very powerful Diagram Trace tool that actually lets you look at all of the messages being sent between server objects and inspect how those messages are changing state. This came about because I had a bug in some matchmaking logic and it was just extremely tedious to look through the log files to try to figure out what was going on, to the point where we were looking through log files and drawing diagrams, and then a light bulb flashed. And we said, why don't we just auto-generate the diagrams? And then that illuminated everything and helped us really cement our logic. So it's a great thing for debugging, but it's also a great thing for confirming whether you're actually executing on your architecture the way you wanted, and just a great way to communicate about code. Now, there's really not that much going on in our Hello World project, so you're not going to see anything that's super illuminating in this example, but you will have the tools in order to take on more complex interactions in your own server objects. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the diagram trace tool based on the simulated run. So let's go to our project, and we have to go into settings, and we have to make sure we're set to the simulated backend, and seeker level has to be debug. And what that'll do is that'll create some traces. So if you look at our project folder, you don't see a traces folder, but if we can get these traces by either running the test or running the project. So let's run the test. And now it created some traces. And it created two traces. One of them is called SimCloud, because this shows you what's going on from the perspective of the cloud. This is like a global perspective. And the other one has this very strange ID, and that shows you what's going on from the perspective of a instance of Syncer. So if there are, in the example where you have multiplayers, you might have numerous syncers. You could look at it from the perspective of a syncer, or you could look at it from the global perspective. In our case, we only have one syncer, so they're going to look very similar. So now we go to Launch Diagram Tool, and we're just going to select one of those files. And we notice that basically this is the client. Here's our hello SO, and it's going to send it a message saying, my name is. We have a couple of, we have some checkboxes. We can look at the full name, it's hello SO plus my name is. We can look at order, which every SO message has an order associated with it. Count will tell us like a universal counter of for the message, so you know what order they're being transacted in. We also have this thing called result, and here it says, okay, after hello SO receives my name is, here's the result. And this is not very meaningful, and the reason it's not very meaningful is because we don't have a good toString for hello SO. So now we'll just add our toString function, and it's going to say greeting equals and then the value of the greeting. We can rerun our, well, before we rerun this, let's delete our traces folder. Now we can rerun our test, get brand new traces, launch trace diagram tool, and now when we turn on the result, we'll actually see the greeting equals hello world. And that just shows us that everything was working correctly. Now, lastly, we might want to do the same thing, but in cloud mode. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clear our remote database. So we start from a fresh state. And now we're going to go into our settings, flip it over to cloud. We did make a change to our SO when we added that toString, so we're going to need to deploy that change. Okay, and when it says successfully created updated stack, we know we're ready to go. So we're going to run this test again, this time in cloud mode. All right, it came back successfully. So now the question is, how do we get that CSV? And the way we do that is we go into AWS, go into Dynamo, find your Dynamo table, find your update table, click on items. And in a real interaction, you might see hundreds of these messages. These are all messages. But in our case, we were only sending one. So we're only going to get that one. Now click this upper rectangle. So basically you're getting all the messages. In this case, it's only one. And then say export to TSV. And now you get this, export to CSV. You'll get this file in your downloads folder. And now we're just going to open that file up. So downloads, and here it is. This time we're not able to actually look at the message that was passed, but this is this is essentially exactly what's going on from the perspective of the server, from the perspective of that DynamoDB. Here's the message, and you can still view full message, and you can also include the timestamp instead of the order now. And you also get to look at the difference, the time difference. So if you had many messages, you might see, exactly how long those are taking. So quite a powerful tool, and thank you so much for watching this video. Now you can really start to understand the interactions of your server objects. Thank you so much. Bye.